leaders of today, leaders of tomorrow coming together. McMaster Athletes Care is kind of like that bridge.
Realizing that the little things that I do can really help them and really inspire them to do great things in life.
It's a great opportunity for us as student athletes to just basically give back to the Hamilton community, showing them the care.
Through McMaster Athletes Care, athletes can take that opportunity to change lives. And in the meantime, our lives change as well.
To his teammates and coaches, Kyle Angelow is just one of the top pitchers in the OUA conference, taking the mound for McMaster. But look closer, and there is more to his story. When Kyle Angelow was 5, he was like any other kid. His life revolved around playing sports and going to his older brother and sister's hockey and soccer games. But his life changed dramatically.
I started feeling some pains in my right thigh, and they were bad enough to wake me up at night, bad enough to make me follow the ice in pain. But then it would go away. So we went to the doctor and they figured it was just growing pains, which was odd to only be in one leg. But that's what they said, and my mom was persistent with saying it has to be worse than that, it can't just be growing pains. So for another month or so we kept getting tests, and finally we got an x-ray and they found a tumor. That's when I guess my life was flipped upside down. It wasn't just about going out to my sporting events, now it was about now I'm going to be sick for a long time, and so things were going to change.
Angelow was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a rare disease where cancer cells are found in bone or soft tissue. At the age of 5, he was about to take on a challenge that many adults would find insurmountable. But Angelow was unwavering.
But I did know I was going to be sick, and I accepted that, and I said, well, I guess we're going to have to fight it. And what always kept me going, though, was sports. So I remember lying in my bed, I was getting chemotherapy, and my dad had brought me a little basketball that we would just play catch with, and that kind of kept me going. I was feeling like, you know what, when I get out of this, I kind of want to play basketball. And it was always sports that kind of got me moving and got me progressing more. And my doctors were always impressed with my ability to not only walk too soon on my cast, but also once I got into a brace, I would break them nonstop because I was so active. But they said that was actually a good thing. It was good for my heart. And it was good for all my ligaments just to get active. So that's what kept me going, and that's actually what helped me be as strong as I am today.
11 surgeries and 13 months of chemotherapy later, he was healthy and ready to get back to being an active child. But it was going to be different physically now for Angelow.
The tumor was actually, it was about an adult-sized fist in my right femur, and I was a little guy, so it was quite large. But at the same time, they did catch it fairly early. So what they had to do was remove 80% of my femur, as well as some of the surrounding tissue, just in case it metastasized. So that meant that I had to obviously replace that bone. So what they did was they removed my left fibula, the bone that bears no weight in your calf. So that's been completely removed and replaced into where my right femur should have been. It's much shorter and much weaker. So when they put in the screws to put on a plate for support, it actually broke. So within a couple of weeks, that plan had failed and we needed a backup plan. So now we moved to the right leg. So in the same leg that I had cancer, we now took out that fibula. Same problem. The issue was the screws are too big. There's a one-size-fits-all screws. So they're too big and it broke again. So it broke in a way that it was kind of bent in half. So I had a bump. And when I went in, we had no other options other than put another plate on. And it happened to miraculously fuse together. So now I'm still living with the same right fibula, despite it having a bump in it, but it's fused together.
He learned to adapt and now pitches with a special brace and shoe.
So these are my tools on the field. My cancer left me with a shorter right leg and weakened. So I wear my brace for stability, and I have a shoe lift on my right shoe of a few inches to make up for my leg length difference. What they did was cut off the bottom of the turf shoe and put the lift on, and then put the turf back on, so I still have grip, but I also have the height that I need to play.
Despite his physical differences, Angelow doesn't see himself as any different than any other athlete.
I don't want special treatment because I've always felt like I'm an athlete. I don't know anything different. So despite my I guess, my different physical attributes, I still want to be the best athlete I can be.
Yeah, he is definitely one of our leaders. You can't help but have him as a leader. He's such a inspiration to a lot of guys. To be out there and see a guy like Kyle, like it helps our team immensely. Sometimes you look and you go, he can do it, I got to help him, and I can do it just as, you know, I can help him. So we treat it as a positive more than a negative.
As much as he doesn't let his childhood illness weigh him down, he is always one to give back. Angelow brought the Base Bald fundraising event to McMaster in 2012, raising $15,000 in support of childhood cancer.
Baseball originated down in the States. University of North Carolina player was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and his team supported him by shaving their heads, and they turned it into a fundraising event. So they raised lots of money, and in no time it spread across the United States at different schools and eventually professional teams. And then I found out about it through Childhood Cancer Canada, who had grouped together with St. Baldrick's in the States, and St. Baldrick's signed Baseball as a fundraising event. And together we decided that I would run the first Canadian event at McMaster. So my team got together and we stood in solidarity with kids with cancer by shaving our heads and raising money for childhood cancer research.
It should come as no surprise that Angelow is both a leader and an inspiration to his teammates and the coaching staff.
I've coached for close to 40 years and probably a couple thousand kids, and I don't think I've seen anybody that's motivated me, and I'm certainly proud of him. We don't even use the word disability, but that he can perform. Like, he's leading the league in strikeouts right now. To be around somebody that can do that is, I was inspired the first time I saw him, and I continue to be inspired by him.
Kyle Angelow, an athlete by choice, a leader formed out of circumstance, an inspiration McMaster can be proud of.
Leaders of today, leaders of tomorrow coming together. McMaster Athletes Care is kind of like that bridge.
Realizing that the little things that I do can really help them and really inspire them to do great things in life.
It's a great opportunity for us as student athletes to just basically give back to the Hamilton community, showing them the care.
Through McMaster Athletes Care, athletes can take that opportunity to change lives. And in the meantime, our lives change as well.
In his 25th season as the head coach of the McMaster men's rugby team, Phil White has decided to conclude his coaching career at the end of the 2013 season. We sat down with Coach White to reflect on his time at McMaster.
I hesitate to say I'm a natural leader, but I've generally taken leadership roles on teams I've played on. So I was a player coach when I was at Waterloo. And then I played for the Kitchener-Waterloo team, and I was a coach and player on that team. So I've always usually had a leadership role, and playing the equivalent of quarterback in rugby, playing fly half, is generally a leadership role. So usually I've been directing play as a leader in the game. I had been recruiting on an ad hoc basis before the '92 championship. So Peter DeVille and Dave Darby came that year before that, and we won that in their fourth year. Alan Hamilton, our current coach, just showed up from England. So that team had some recruited players and other players. That team also won after a number of heartbreaking losses in the final to Queen's for a number of years prior to that. So we'd been the bridesmaids for a long time, and we finally won it. I would say the recruiting wasn't a central part of the game back then for anybody, and we went into a bit of a lull in the decade following. We had very few losing seasons, but made of a couple there. And then I think that I got highly motivated to recruit when I took the role seriously. I knew the football coaches were doing it seriously. I talked to Greg Marshall about the approach, and my approach changed. Rather than going to watch players play, I decided to invite all the top players in the province to come and visit McMaster. So my approach shifted, and because of that, in 2002 we attracted 7 national junior players. So the whole program shifted dramatically in 1 year, and we won the championship with 7 first-year players. Well, the coaching world changed because of strength and conditioning became a huge factor around 2000. So one reason why we attracted players in 2002 is we offered an organized strength training program. So it wasn't something we give someone a handout and say, lift this. It was about having a strength and conditioning coach and involving testing. And because we did that, we became involved in developing players over the course of the year. So like a 12-month strength program with testing, and you start to introduce nutrition and things like that. So the approach became far more high performance is what the expression is now. Yeah, and that was the attraction for these young men who had ambitions to play at the national team level. So we were obviously a good place to come because they knew they'd get lots of attention. I think we were innovative in the early stages of high performance coaching, and certainly innovative in that we recruited in an organized way. And nobody else in university rugby was doing that at the time. So we had a competitive advantage for a period of time before other people decided they should probably catch up. Players have remained in touch and remain close friends from many years ago. So we had a Phil White night 2 weeks ago to mark my retirement, and there's players from 25 years ago who came to that, who are now in their 40s and had children, and that was very heartwarming. I've been invited to 5 weddings of former players. So the relationships you form away from the field with players and also the assistant coaches has been a huge factor in enjoying this terrific job I have. I think winning the first championship in 1992 was huge because we had suffered a number of setbacks, winning silver medals with the bridesmaids, and we finally broke through. That was a huge moment. And I think winning the 2002 championship with 7 first-year players was a massive achievement. In that season we had 7 first-year players, and we lost to Queen's in the regular season and lost to Western in the regular season, and we managed to beat them soundly in the playoffs and winning the championship. So the development over the course of that year was huge for us. I think I'm taking advantage. We've assembled an outstanding group of assistant coaches, and part of the transition for me of moving out from the head coaching role has been my concern that things would not decline following my retirement. So there's been a conscious transition plan to put in place high quality assistant coaches, and my successor Dan Pletch is an outstanding young coach. So I think we'll go from strength to strength as the years go on, and this year he's doing almost all the on-field coaching, and he's doing almost all the game coaching. So I've given up those realms, and in order for the transition to be smooth, and we're having a mentorship role this year. I'm mentoring him, he's doing most of the coaching, and it's working very well. As it happens, there are more McMaster graduates coaching high school rugby by far than any other university. And that's one of the things I'm proudest about of our program, is that these players have taken the passion and taken it into the high schools, and they have taken on coaching roles. They're growing the game. We similarly have more referees working in the game, giving back to the game following graduation. So that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is the number of players who are coaching and refereeing and involved in the game following graduation. I think in the rugby program it's a marked feature, and I don't know if I can take credit for it, because the assistant coaches are fantastic. The players have been, really character guys throughout. So I think we just have somehow evolved into a cohesive, positive, passionate group And I think that's, if there's a legacy, I'd like to think that was it. At the same time, you know, the department has grown so rapidly, and what is remarkable is to grow a department so rapidly in a time of fiscal constraint. So that's kind of like a miracle. You know, with less and less, fewer and fewer funds coming in to university athletics departments to create the facilities, and in this university to maintain all the teams so many students can have the varsity experience is quite miraculous, because it's very easy for universities to cut programs to save money. So I think we have a very positive environment here. I think there's an atmosphere of positivity in the department, and I think we're going to go from strength to strength. For many, many years here, we've decided we'll wear maroon. So we have great relationship with the women's team. We have a great relationship with the football team. You know, we go to watch football games, and sometimes the football players aren't playing. They're coming to watch our games. So there's a supportive environment that we're all representing McMaster. We try to represent the school with dignity and pride. So I think instilling those values in the players has been a big factor for how things have gone so well at McMaster. The key factor for me is respect. And I've always encouraged and taught that respect the game, respect the referees, respect your opponents. So some universities will have t-shirts that say, you know, we hate Western or something, and I've never taken that approach. To me, you can't have a league without Western, Queens, Guelph, whoever they are. So there are valued opponents. When we play rugby in the field, it's no quarter given or asked, but after the game, you're just colleagues in the game of rugby. So I think that's the most important thing. I think that we show a lot of respect to our therapists, and the therapists will say how wonderful it is to work at Mac because the guys are so respectful, they don't take things for granted. The people in the sports injury clinic say how wonderful it is to treat rugby players because they show respect and they're thankful. So I think that's the key for me is respect for other people, respect for the game, respect for referees, and then you have a positive environment.
Leaders of today, leaders of tomorrow coming together. McMaster Athletes Care is kind of like that bridge.
Realizing that the little things that I do can really help them and really inspire them to do great things in life.
It's a great opportunity for us as student athletes to just basically give back to the Hamilton community, showing them care.
Through McMaster Athletes Care, athletes can take that opportunity to change lives. And in the meantime, our lives change as well.
Hello, my name is Sean Coombs. I'm one of the captains of McMaster Ultimate, and you're watching Sports How To, Ultimate Edition. Ultimate is the fastest growing sport in North America. There are 700 college teams and over 1,200 student athletes.
Ultimate is a team sport played with a flying disc.
Robbie, pass me the disc. Contrary to popular belief, this is actually called a disc, not a frisbee. Frisbee is a registered trademark name of the company Whammo.
The object of the game is to score points by passing the disc to another player in the opposing end zone, similar to an end zone in football. A regulation field is 70 yards by 40 yards with end zones 25 yards deep.
The game of Ultimate was invented in 1967 at Columbia High School in Maplewood, New Jersey.
Each point begins with both teams lining up in the front of their respective end zone line. The defense throws the disc to the offense. A regulation game has 7 players per team.
Ultimate Canada is the national governing body for the sport. They host national university championships each year, which McMaster has won and continues to compete in.
The disc may be advanced in any direction by completing a pass to a teammate. Players may not run with the disc. The person with the disc, the thrower, has 10 seconds to throw the disc. The defender guarding the thrower, the marker, counts out the stall count. When a pass is not completed, it goes out of bounds, dropped, blocked, intercepted, for example, the defense immediately takes possession of the disc and becomes the offense.
Yeah, Robbie! Nice flick! Nice! Ultimate has no rest. This requires a strong sense of sportsmanship and respect. We call this spirit of the game.
Now, for a little bit of fun,
Let's check out our own McMaster Ultimate trick shot video.